to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me for this evening's racing is Daniel Leet with Scott Newton on the cameras. And we're here for round 2 of the championship. It's Lime Rock. Daniel, it's a short circuit, it's a fast circuit. I think it's a circuit which is going to produce plenty of thrills this evening.
Yeah, good evening, Sam, to all the viewers tuning in. Great to have you on board again for round 2, as you say. But it's a fantastic little circuit, probably a circuit that doesn't get used enough in a lot of major events. But obviously, for everyone new to iRacing, you do go through a lot of track time here at Lime Rock. So great to see the GTE cars running around, and for the championship as well. Great to be coming back.
Really is. Just a bit of a clarification as to what layout we're going to use today. We were a little bit surprised when we jumped into the server because we're not using the IMSA layout, the layout which has become quite normal in real life racing, I believe, around this track. Instead, we're running no chicanes. It's the really old-fashioned layout, but of course with the updated graphics that iRacing brought out a few a few months ago. A few of the corners changing slightly as well, new surface. Should be a fantastic host, as we were saying. So, practice already has been completed. The drivers have completed a couple of days of qualifying. Their best time over the course of a couple of qualifying sessions has counted for them. And that has meant that on pole position for this round 2 of the championship is Aaron Lee. Jordan Cullis lines up alongside him. There's Aaron Specchio and Chris Pellet rounding out on the second row of the grid. Timothy Phoeben lines up in 5th, then it's Nathan Huppertz in 6th. Behind that is Jeremy Clark, Martin Crisp, Michael Barron, Joshua Thomas rounding out the top 10. Then it's Kane Ryder, Leigh Vandenberg, Trent Thomas, Nick Sanfilippo, Justin Rougier, Tom Huggan, Braden Nash, Julian Klein-Busink, Warren Pickering, Aidan Luthwaite, Sam Holden, Vaughan Ryder, Scott Gamble, Brett Hender, David Miller, Robert Crisdell, Brett Wilson, Neil Pearson, Matt Farrar, and Ryan Kolstad, I believe, will just be doing the stewarding for today. But, I mean, this is a mega competitive field today, Daniel. Only 30 drivers in this top split. This is a short circuit, so I think the stewards have taken the wise decision to limit the amount of cars in each split. But this field means that it's one of the best I think we're going to see all season.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think a smart move from the series organisers. They've widened it out to 3 splits for tonight, which is probably a smart move given how compact this circuit is, as you say. But it will lead still to fantastic racing. The field quality up and down the field, very, very good. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, especially with a few of the quick names in there, throwing it amongst the series regulars. We're in for a really strong fight tonight. Probably the one key part that I'm really going to have, I think we all need to keep an eye on, is the entrance to pit lane. We know the guys have got to make that one compulsory pit stop tonight, and where you fire into the lane here, it's very, very tight. And with the guys getting a fantastic possibility of getting some really solid runs off that final corner, it could lead to some fireworks as everyone tries to shuffle in for that pit stop.
Yeah, it could certainly be the case, of course. Anyone who watched Sebring last time out, there was a safety car early on in the event, and everyone came into the pits. Well, most people came into the pits. Whoever did come into the pits, it benefited massively. So if there is a safety car, watch out for everyone to come ducking into the pit lane, get that pit stop complete. I don't believe Aaron Lee was even on the grid last time out at Sebring, but he fancies his chances here. Lots of Fords at the front of this field. It really does seem to be the car to go for around this Lime Rock circuit. And the pace car is about to come into the pits. And 45 minutes of racing here at Lime Rock Park is about to get underway. And away we go. Lee pulls away from the rest of the field, and that is a good start for the top 2 drivers. Cullis stays in 3rd place. Good start for Pellet. Straight away going past Specchio, however. They are side by side going into turn 1. Any changes further down the order? Crisp getting past Clark. Good start for Sanfilippo, getting a couple of places, but in amongst the top 8, pretty much no changes. Phoeben, I think, just running a little bit wide going through turn 1. However, he has managed to keep that 5th position for now as they get into single file, and that's probably why it's going up over the lift here.
Yeah, really good jump from everyone, and as you say, everyone now down into that single file. We see
Oh, no.
first
It's Clark. Hard in.
very wide there. And that'll be one of the key things these drivers are going to need to keep an eye on, getting the cars across the top of that rise, especially on those cold tyres. So we'll see Clark dive into the pits momentarily. There is also a Porsche in the background going
Ruggia.
very, very wide. We'll have to get an
Oh, and
Justin
San
Ruggia as well.
San Filippo, after a really nice start, gets caught out, and Ruggia, who didn't have a particularly good seeping round, getting involved in another incident. So plenty of troubles, and already we're a lap and a half into this race. 50-second laps we're getting around this place, and already Aaron Lee has a 1.2 second lead. He is sprinting away from the rest of the pack. Chris Pellet under massive pressure right now from Timothy Beeben, and Beeben looks to the inside. Not necessarily usually an overtaking spot around this track. In fact, there's very few overtaking spots overall. They're now side by side. Getting involved in this is Nathan Huppert. Is he willing to make this one 3 wide? There isn't quite the space, but it's an awful couple of corners for Chris Pellet, who drops down from his starting place into 6th place now. And yeah, Huppert couldn't quite put a lot of pressure on Beeben, but that does set loose a couple of those elite drivers.
Yeah, definitely. We just saw Jeremy Clark coming back out on track. Now, I did have a quick chat with Nathan Happers early on. He was saying the car probably to keep a big eye on tonight is that Ford, as we're seeing already, very, very solid. The Ferrari, however, could be a little bit of a surprise. It's a little bit looser than everything out there tonight, but that later on could come into the hands, and maybe we'll see a few guys struggling to get the best grip out of that. But Happett's on a really good charge now. Currently finds himself in 5th spot, up 1 from where he started, and closing back in again on that Mark 1 eSports car, Tim Feeben.
Of course, closing is one thing around this track, passing is another. I was watching the race at Barcelona yesterday, and it's a similar circuit to that in a way, how at the end of each of the long straights you kind of got quite a fast corner, so there's not an easy place to outbreak your rival. Sam Holden is off the track. He'd had a decent start actually from 21st place. I believe he was up into the top 18 after a couple of incidents that we saw earlier on. But he has now dropped down to 25th. Is still running though, is the 727 car. Of course, for those of you who aren't aware, we've got 4 different classes in this championship. All GTE cars, of course, but the top class is the elites, and then we've got the pros, the amateurs, and the rookies. So 4 different classes. Pretty much everyone is racing for something. However, we do quite see a lot of mixing around of those classes. Kane Ryder and Warren Pickering have gone off the circuit, and if you go off the circuit round this place, then it's very tricky to get back on. And Chris Pellet as well, from 6th place, made a mistake, and that is a long excursion that he's had to take.
Yeah, we'll see if we can tuck back to this. You see Warren Pickering there just snatching a break, and I think that was also the same for Kane Ryder in the other BMW going off circuit there. And that's a weird one for Pellet, almost just like the rear end started to step around, and he's taken to the grass to get that car back underway. So sharp awareness there, just clearing the track and getting everyone through nice and safely. Good to see Pellet back on his way, but again, now coming under a huge amount of attack. Quite a few cars right behind. We've got Warren Pickering. Yeah, Warren Pickering back behind him. Kane Ryder also returning back up. Brett Hender just following in, and a new team for Hender as well. He's just recently switched over to Fusion Sim Racing this week.
I think just going off there was Martin Crisp. He was in 6th place was Crisp. So that position seems to be a bit cursed now. Josh Thomas occupies it, up 4 places from his start, but Chris with an unusual mistake. The elite driver, is he Chris? No, apologies, he is just an amateur driver, Chris, but still quite experienced in this championship. And yeah, he's going to drop our way down the order. He's down into a 21st place now. So, out in the lead, Aaron Lee is still leading the way, 3 seconds ahead, and this is a margin this early on in the race, which we rarely see, and it's an incredible big gap between 1st and 4th. Timothy Feeben, of course, one of the favourites for the championship, already 7.5 seconds off the lead. It just seems as though Lee and some of these Ford drivers have got this car dialed in today.
Yeah, the setup working very, very well for the Forge. You see all up in the top 3 currently and really starting to extend their gap and advantage over the rest of the field at the moment. But for Lee, we didn't see him out last week at Sebring, but has come back into this championship and picked up exactly where he left off from the last time racing. So he's moving well and truly ahead, getting a really nice gap now out to just over 3 seconds. So really pushing on. He's got, I think that's Jeremy Clark in the right racing car just ahead of him. So we saw Clark coming that earlier off, and he will be pretty soon going down a lap here. You can just see him in the bottom of shot there.
Yeah, you don't really want to drop a lap down, of course, because if there is a safety car, which is very possible in this around this track, then you're going to remain a lap down. You won't be able to catch up to the back of the train, and that is going to cause you big problems. So not a fantastic start for Jeremy Clark. Next driver to go lap down will be Wilson, who's quite a bit further up the road. Here's Braden Nash, who did very well at Sebring. I think he got a podium. Who won at Sebring? It's fallen out of my mind. It may well be Nash. Or maybe Nash was just like second or third. I'm not quite sure. I'll look at the results in just a bit. Of course, the field in this championship is so competitive that always wide just ahead, and Nash will take advantage of that one. That's the type of overtakes we see at Lime Rock Park, just dipping a wheel onto the grass, and with this new tyre model produced by iRacing, as the grass is so slippery, it gives you a lot of time, and Nash was close enough there to take advantage.
Yeah, and just for confirmation too, Nash was race winner last time out at Sebring. So switched to the new team in Synergy Sim Racing from RSR Esports and continuing pushing forward. Trent Thomas got a bit of a point to prove after some issues last week out at Sebring. We saw him snatch that rear down into the hairpin, and that made for a very hard night for him, but was able to climb himself well up the order towards the end, coming home in a ninth. So apart from those issues, working very well. But these guys, will look to see them push a little bit further up as this race continues. They've got Lee Vandenberg just ahead, Michael Byrne and Josh Thomas. So a couple of guys very, very quick and not that far ahead for them to chase down now.
Yeah, and everyone's seemingly catching up to Aaron Specchio currently. I'm getting a bit confused by these sector times. I mean, they are or these lap times, because I mean, 47 seconds. You can't think that is a sector time quite often around some circuits, and yeah, it is a complete lap round this place. Of course, you can check out the live timing. There's a link in the description, and that is provided by SPK Gaming. And you can see the intervals between each of the drivers, their last lap time, their best lap time, and their pit stop times, which will be very relevant later on in the race. I certainly recommend you get that loaded up on another monitor. There's a little bit of air over that over the crest for Timothy Phoeben.
I must say, every time you see the cars from this gearbox shot coming over that crest, always reminds me of Le Mans. I think it was 96, the Mark Webber in the Mercedes going end over end. It always looks like it. And I'm just waiting for one of these days, a car coming up with that much speed to over the top, and away she goes. But the guy's holding on pretty comfortably right now. But yeah, something we could potentially see later.
It is such a tricky corner that, unfortunately, we don't use it so much anymore. Of course, this circuit not really ever used that much, apart from, of course, in the rookie series. But it has got a superb flow to it. Warren Pickering's made another mistake. I think this time at turn 2, he went off at turn 1 earlier on, and could have been a nice result for Warren Pickering. Hasn't quite turned out that way. And of course, around this track, if you go off the circuit around this place, it is painful because you see such long corners. And so if you go on the grass, you just get sucked out onto the grass, and you lose upwards of 10 seconds, even if you just dip a wheel onto the grass. So very unlucky. Lee Vandenberg having to defend a little bit from Braden Nash. Start for Berg, actually. Good start for Nash as well, after a poor qualifying probably for each.
Yeah, probably a little further down for both those drivers than where we would have expected, especially after the results last week out. But you know, already Lee Vandenberg up 4 spots from where he started, Nash up 8, Trent Thomas just behind in that Trick Sim Sports car up 3 spots from where he started, Julian Klinsenberg up 7 spots as well. So quite a few guys working their way well up towards the front. Just seem to be lacking that little bit of pace at the moment from what we're seeing from the likes of Aaron Lee and that Evolution Racing Team car.
wide and through. Lee Vandenberg making a big mistake through turn 1, and I think was just absolutely making sure they didn't go off the circuit, didn't want to dip the wheel onto the grass, and so it cost him a couple of places then. Trent Thomas also makes his way past, and Graydon Nash now freed to go catch up to Michael Barron and Josh Thomas up ahead. I think Vandenberg's got to be careful as well of Clean Busink as well, who's sitting on his back bumper. Maybe the Ferrari not quite finding the best pace today.
Yeah, maybe a little off in that Supervac esports car, probably ideally than where he wants to do is we see one of the Fusion Sim Sport cars rejoining there. I think that might have been the car of Warren Pickering getting back on the track, but that little wide run that we saw from Vandenberg into 1 could have been so much more worse. He was able just to keep it on the black stuff, and as a result only losing those 2 spots. So he'll be looking to try and push up, but that could be some of those issues we touched on quite earlier with that Ferrari being very loose in the rear. Maybe the guy's just starting to struggle a little bit, which I'm a bit surprised at only 11 laps into this one.
So Specchio under even more pressure from Timothy Theben. On that last lap, Theben gained by 0.12 seconds. But it is a narrow circuit round. This place looks to the inside. Theben has made a couple of moves already. And here he goes through turn 2. You'll have the outside for turn 3. And does he back out of it? No, he's going to keep alongside. Now, who's got the advantage into the quick right-hander? Usually it's the driver on the inside, and that is the case. Specchio just about stays ahead. Theben can't quite get the cutback. Had to take into account Huppert's for a moment. He was very interested in getting past. Now Michael Thomas is interested in getting past as well. So this is a proper 4-car battle, and that was good defense there from Specchio, but just shows that you cannot let your guard down at any point. And now Theben is the one under pressure from Nathan Huppert's. We're on the outside at turn 1. I don't think that's going to happen. And Theben can set his sights on the car ahead now.
No, this is a really nice little 4-car train starting to form up here, and not that far.
Issue for Graydon Nash, championship leader. I think he's gone off at turn 1. Down into 13th place now.
Yes, that was a big drop for Nash there, who last time out was championship, current championship leader. But let's get a look at the replay as we see him running down at turn 1 here.
Too much speed, I assume. Ooh, he kind of locked up the brakes, which is unusual because these things do have ABS.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same move that we saw earlier on for Warren Pickering, where he caught that brake just at the maximum point as they turn into 1. So a couple of these guys just finding that limit of the brake zone. As we see here, Happett's now trying to get a move done on Tim Theben, and Josh Thomas just sitting in behind. He could be licking his lips here, up maybe 2 or 3 spots if these guys do find themselves coming together. But these guys are all now scrapping over that 3rd position, and absolutely nothing in it. Right behind in the back of shot there, you've got Michael Barron coming up, and alongside bringing Trent Thomas back into the fight as well. So this little group could find its way up into 6-car train very, very soon.
Yeah, because he's lapping quite a bit past 47.3s for those guys on the last lap. By the way, gap for the leaders coming down a little bit. Lee is being caught by Cullis as here is Huppert's again. Theben just defending every single time. In fact, it's this replay of what happened earlier on. Specchio, yeah, just ahead of those guys. And Theben and Huppert's alongside one another. But Huppert's is yet to get past. I guess at least they can save a bit of fuel in this situation. But it will be frustrating for them that they can't unleash their proper pace. Barron closing in on them by half a second on that last lap. Here's Aidan Luthwaite, a driver who we're used to being a little bit further up, and he started this race in 20th place. But he's catching up to Tom Huggan, only half a second behind, and Huppert's now is into the pits. This is a bold move, but yeah, what do you think of this one?
I'm a little worried about when the guys are actually going to take the pits. I'm really interested to see from the guys up the front when they come in. Very surprised to see Happett's in now, but looking at the live timing for anyone tuning at home, certainly check that out on the SDK Gaming site. There's cars all around the circuit at the moment, so you're going to either come out in a really prime spot, or you're going to get that little bit of traffic, and Happett's just now coming out of the lane, finds himself down in the 18th spot, actually might drop a spot here to 20th. So he's got Vaughan Ryder right behind him, and Dave Miller just ahead for Redback Racing. So that's a long way down the line. That pit stop here was 10 seconds stationary. So not too bad overall, but 26 seconds when you consider having to come in, stop, and get back underway is a long way around this circuit.
It's not too bad traffic for him. He's got David Miller just up ahead of him, but then he's got, I guess the gaps around this circuit are so small. 8 seconds, I think, to Martin Crisp for Hubbard. So you've kind of got one driver within 8 seconds for him. Neil Pearson's just made a mistake, just ahead of the race leaders. And here it was. Another mistake at turn one. We're seeing a lot of this. The defending champion, of course, Neil Pearson. Didn't see... Well, we saw quite a bit of him, to be fair, at Sebring, but it didn't quite go his way, and that corner certainly hasn't gone his way either. Tricky circuit, treacherous circuit, I think is the best way to put it. Very easy to make a mistake, and still Specchio stays ahead. Do you think Phoeben's mentality would change now, thinking, okay, guys, we've battled for a bit, let's work together just to make sure that Huppert stays behind us, or do you think he'll be 100% focused on getting track position still?
No, look, I think Phoeben, he's been around this series for quite a long time and knows these drivers up and down the field. He'll be just playing the games now, just get in behind, maybe force Specchio into a weird move there and try and sneak the Mach 1 car up the inside. But at the same point, while he's having a look at Specchio, he's also got Josh Thomas to consider. So he's probably the hardest spot right now, the meat and sandwich between these two, and trying to look for an attack ahead, as we see Thomas there with a big wiggle on the exit of that final corner, but that will actually give him a little bit of room. But I think Phoeben's going to be really looking to try and get this move sealed up, as we see Specchio go very, very wide there into one, a little uncharacteristic for him.
Wilson and Pellet are stationary out on circuit. I'm just wondering, are we going to get a safety car in a moment? Because I think they've crashed just after the crest. And, oh, they are back underway. Apologies, they are all right. So I was just thinking maybe safety car, that would really mix up the strategy, especially for these front guys. This happened then for Wilson.
Yeah, we see Wilson running down into the little crest and the jump there, and very odd the way the car just sort of turned in towards the inside. He tried to recover it and then found that contact with...
Too much curve, I think, there for Wilson, and spinning back around as well into his rival, and that was a big old crash for him with Chris Pellet, who was running as high as 4th place, was he, Pellet? I think at one point, yeah. Really gone away from him this race after a couple of mistakes in that time. Of course, no control in that situation. Are Trent Thomas and Joshua Thomas related?
No, I believe two different drivers, those ones there. So not no relation. I know we have had that in a couple of other championships with quite a few drivers with similar names getting in there, and we've found out, I can't think of the names for the life of me, but there was definitely one pair of family members in there at one point, but everyone else seems to be just with the same name, unfortunately. But Thomas doing a great job now into 7th. He's got Michael Barron right ahead of him there, and Barron putting on a pretty good defensive show now in the Mach 1. The BMW, no, Ferrari just ahead of him, so we'll keep an eye on who that is. But that's a lap down car, I believe, just starting to hold up Thomas now.
Yeah, Thomas coming back at Phoeben, and now I'm getting confused between the Thomases. Oh dear. Running a little bit off the track. Plenty of off tracks I think these drivers are attaining as this race goes on. You can kind of get away with it as long as you kind of straighten up the car when you do go over the onto the grass. But they do have a limit. I think it's 28, and then you get disqualified, reduced from last season. And so not usually too much of an issue in these very long, in these relatively short races, 45 minutes. Similar length to what you'll find in the IMSA Sports Car Series on the official iRacing Championship. And of course, that championship owned the DP, best car in the game, obviously, and then the GTE and GT3. And of course, if you do want to check out iRacing, if you're not already a member, Well, why not? Get yourself like a 3-month subscription. It's like $10, really good offer, and you'll get hooked. And well, hopefully spend plenty of time. Certainly something great to pass the time in these troubling times at the moment. So certainly do recommend that. And thanks everyone for tuning in so far for this round 2 of the Aussie Mix and Fix GT Championship. And we've got, well, about halfway through the race now, aren't we? And it's still Aaron Lee leading the way. 4.5 seconds ahead of Jordan Cullis. That gap kind of maintaining in recent times, although Lee has pulled away in the last couple of laps. Certainly a lot more even than it was at the start of the race. But now we get into a bit of traffic, and this is the time when it could get a little bit more confusing for the race leader.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see now where Lee decides to come in. Obviously, for all the drivers out there tonight, we do have that one mandatory pit stop that they will need to come down the lane for. But Lee's setting a really good pace. Laps very, very consistent. Only dipping about half a second away from his best at the moment. So last time by a 146.7, actually best 46.1. So 0.6 of a second between those. So not much in it at all, but smooth, clean, consistent. It's what we kind of expected from Lee, and he's doing everything he needs to do right now. Tim Phoeben, though, actually, we'll have to quickly jump back to third. He's actually got that Mark 1 car up in front of Aaron Specchio as well, and he now promotes himself up into third spot. Josh Thomas now just on the back of Specchio as well. Let's see if we can cut to a replay.
Was it into turn 1, guy's car on the inside? And after defending for so long, Specchio just could not defend this one. You could see how he was squeezing his rival and just ran a bit wide on the exit. And he was not giving that one up, was Specchio, but in the end, just too quick for the BMW. That BMW is very big as well. It is like a bit of a boulder running you off the circuit. And you're absolutely right, Josh Thomas now on his tail. Instead, Michael Barron has caught these guys. It was half a second faster on that last lap for Barron. And there you are, Tom's trying to lift out of the throttle, trying to reduce the air just a little bit.
And just kind of the way Specchio, sorry, I was just going to say, just keeping an eye on Specchio as he brings that car through. He's just struggling to get that mid-corner apex in the fort, so those tyres could be down a little bit, and Josh Thomas in the lane. We'll keep an eye on his time to see where he falls in relation to Nathan Happert, who we saw having his stop a little bit earlier on also.
This could be close between Thomas and Happert, so I imagine Happert will just be ahead. Thomas with a longer pit stop. Ooh, this is quite a long pit stop for Thomas. I wonder if he's messed up the pit entry. Well, 16 seconds. That's 7 seconds longer than what it took Nathan Happert. And yeah, that's literally 6 seconds longer than everyone else. So in the end, he comes out of the pits. Oh, as Cullis is off the circuit from second position. And a big mistake for Jordan Cullis. Has he kept second place? Had a big gap over Timothy Phoeben. It looks as though he's all right. But big change there for Cullis. That's an unusual mistake from him. He looks so comfortable there.
Yeah, I think that might have also been as a result of one of the cars joining out of pit lane, just running him very wide. As you can see, the Fisher Motorsports car, I believe it is, coming out of the lane. That was Josh Thomas, and just firing it in to get that spot. You can see Cullis very, very wide, able to not lose too much time, but straighten the car up, gets back underway, still retaining that second spot, but he has lost a huge advantage now to Aaron Lee, who's now extended that gap to 12 seconds.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a procession now for Lee as long as he keeps his car on the track, which is easier said than done. Cullis still 4.5 seconds ahead of Phoeben. That just shows the time that Phoeben lost earlier on, having to pass some drivers. I imagine an incredible amount of the field is going to be lapped by the end of this race. Already, everyone is lapped up to 19th place. Even Neil Pearson is lapped, although I should say that he has been lapped has pitted as Pearson, along with all the other drivers who have come into the pits. Still absolute domination from the race leader. Just Thomas, has he made a mistake? I'm seeing him off the circuit. Is back going again, but I think this is going to be quite a poor lap for Thomas, who's had a a rough few minutes after a very long pit stop.
Yeah, we'll see if we can cut back to the replay here. And I think this will be another one down into turn one again as we watch him coming back here on the replay. Similar sort of thing, locks the brake and runs it very, very wide. Actually hit the curb on the inside, which sent him well off the circuit. So that's not a great thing. And then just to make matters worse, just runs it up into the wall. Now we do have also a slow car out on track. We just see in that position 26, that's Chris Pallett as well. So potential we could get our first safety car of the night here also.
Yeah, that car does not seem to be going anywhere. So they could well be on the cottons, and we do have a caution. And this is an iRacing caution. It's not a manual caution, which is a little bit unusual. But yeah, so the judges will be neutralised now. Aaron Lee. Oh, so if this is an iRacing caution, then the pits will not be open initially. And so the judges who have pitted and are still on the lead lap will have a massive advantage here. That's how I read it, at least. Are you familiar with the caution rules? Because I don't think the guys can come into the pits yet.
No, they shouldn't be allowed in. You can see the iRacing pace car just out in front. So these guys will need to go around at least one more time before the pit lane does open. I was almost expecting we might have seen a virtual safety car around here just to slow this field down, but keep an eye on Lee. You can see him rolling up on the back of the iRacing Porsche there, and this will be our first one while we recover that car at Chris Pallett.
So I think if what's going to happen is what I think is going to happen, then that means that Nathan Huppert's is in a brilliant position right now because he's the only driver on the lead lap who has pitted so far. So he'll come to the end of this train, and then everyone else will come into the pits under the safety car. And because they'll come into the pits, they'll all come up behind Nathan Huppert. That's how I'm reading it at the moment, at least. I'm not sure why we've got an iRacing pace car, not a manual pace car. I think Nathan Huppert's may well become the race leader after being some 20 seconds off the lead previously. I don't think the pits will be open on this occasion, and the drivers don't have to come into the pits, but it is probably wise because it's going to be tricky to build up a gap and then come into the pits by the end of the 45 minutes and keep your position. You can't get a free pit stop if you do pits under the pace car. But this is all of a sudden looking really good for the 799 car. And yet no one is coming into the pits again on this occasion. In fact, a few drivers are. So I'm not sure if they're going to get penalties for that. Aaron Lee is one of them.
Jordan Cullis and Tim Feedman. I think we're going to see the entire field that hasn't pitted now come back in, especially after what we saw last week out at Sebring, where we saw a few guys throw the dice and unfortunately didn't pay dividends for them there. So Lee in the box now, and the entire field is in for their respective stops. Nathan Happert, as you say, still going around now. And here is the replay for Pallett. Gets the Ford in nicely through turn one. Doesn't look too bad. A little bit of damage on that front end. And he's got one of the Mark 1 cars there who just tags the rear end of that car and ultimately rotates. That was a weird one because that car still had drive. I'm surprised to see it go stationary there. So we didn't quite see the end of what happened there, but a bit of an awkward situation there.
Yeah, it really was. So apologies about that with Huppert. So it turns out that Huppert was still a lap down. So I thought he was on the lead lap. It seemed like the pace car picked up. It didn't seem like the pace car picked up Aaron Lee. Oh, there we are with Pert. That was a big odd hit from behind, and I think just breaking the rear corner perhaps for Pellet. Still, the steering wheel was relatively straight, but perhaps didn't quite have the confidence to bring the car back. Former fourth place just started in fourth place in the grid. Hopefully we'll see Pellet back in future weeks. So still outside the drivers who have pitted then. Oh geez, this is confusing me a lot. Apologies. Remember the ones who know what we're talking about. It's called Jordan Cullis now leading, according to the screen.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye because this should re-filter through when everyone cycles through. But Cullis definitely ahead of.
So Lee had a long pit stop.
Actually, yeah, that's a huge stop for Lee. 30 seconds stationary when you see everyone else. I'm very surprised to see that. Maybe a drive-through potentially, but I thought he had that car in well under pace. So that's very, very odd. We'll need to find out what's happened to Aaron.
Oh, so a comfortable race win has fallen away from Aaron Lee. And we saw this last week as well with another driver who was leading and messed it up during the pit stop sequence, didn't come into the pits under the safety car. And Aaron Lee, oh, this is painful. And he's taking another 10-second stop. Maybe just spared on pit entry, maybe cut the line coming into the pits. It's a crucial mistake. And Jordan Cullis now leads this race.
Yeah, so that's really shaken up what used to be our top three. And
what's happening with Huppert's?
Where's Nathan sitting there? Huppert's now up into that third position. This potentially could be the wave round maybe, but we'll keep an eye on.
He's overtaking everyone, is Huppert's at the moment. And he's now in the lead.
Alright, so I need to keep an eye.
We are back underway. We're under green flag. Not quite sure what's going on at the moment in terms of the order. From our screens, Nathan Huppert is now the race leader after passing plenty of drivers under the pace car. And it's Huppert's leading from Cullis by 2 seconds. And there's a lot of back markers in amongst these drivers as well. Beeben is in third place. Thomas in fourth. Clean Boostink is up into fifth, although he's side by side with Lee Vandenberg at the moment. As off the circuit is Scott Gamble. He's made a mistake at turn 2, dropping down the order. Also, Gordon Ryder involved in something. Brett Wilson. It's been a chaotic restart. But Huppert's, yeah, leading by 2.5 seconds. Cullis and Beeben rounding out the top 3.
Yeah, very awkward one there. Trent Thomas now closing back in on Tim Phoeben for the Mark 1 Esports team, currently third and fourth. We've got another one of the BMWs. I think that might have been Senna Filippo coming down the lane for another stop for himself there. But up towards the front end, Thomas just starting to hunt down Phoeben now as they clear a couple of the back markers still working their way around. I think that might be maybe David Miller still out there in the moment in the Porsche, the only Porsche still out, and we've got a BMW off the circuit also.
And Pearson and Hender were next to one another off the circuit. Have they got back going? I don't know how they would pick up too much damage, to be honest. But they are still stationary. No, they are just getting their cars back the right way now. That's good to see. There's Huppert's and 2 seconds ahead. So Cullis maybe has a pace advantage. He was half a second faster on that last lap. Aaron Lee, despite coming into the pits twice, back up to 9th place. So it seemed as though, for some sorts of reason, many drivers overtook lots of other drivers on that last lap of the pace lap. I'm sure it was controlled by the stewards, but maybe some wave arounds or some end of line for some of the drivers, I can only imagine. It has helped out Huppert and Lee in particular. Lee now on the tail of Kane Ryder for 8th place. Here we are with this battle. And Lee has been ever so quick so far. That Ford has been ever so quick so far. Just trying to recover maybe a top 5 out of this.
Yeah, Neil Pearson also down in the lane for his stop, but Lee gets the pace advantage off that final corner. He should get this pass nice and loosely done down on Kane Ryder, big under brakes. We see another one of the, I think that might be one of the Pulse Racing cars, very, very wide, running through turn 1 there, getting back on the way, but Lee with a nice move now into 8th spot. He's got Lee Vandenberg right in front of him. Vandenberg defending pretty well, actually starting to mount a bit of an attack. Also, Braden Nash just ahead for Synergy Sim Racing as we see Lee getting that forward up the inside. That's an interesting move there. Gets the ERT car down the inside, now up into that 7th spot. So Lee coming very, very hard right now after his little issues earlier on in that long pit stop, but back underway. Braden Nash will be the next cab off the rank for him to get.
It's as though he's driving a different category, isn't he? He's just passing. Oh no, he's gone deeper. Oh, he's got away with it. I thought he was going to do what so many others have done. He's locked the front brake there nearly, went off the circuit, and that would have cost him so bad. Oh, Trent Thomas is off the circuit. There he is in his BMW, spinning off at turn 2. And the Derby was in 4th place. He was on the tail of Timothy Thieban as well. There was Thieban just in front of him. And Thomas, this is going to be a self-made error. And just spinning the car around, tried to hang on to it, nearly hung on to it. And in the end, it went round. Shame for Thomas, who was on for a brilliant result. That promotes a clean boost sync up into 4th place, but he has got a bit of a queue behind him at the moment. Lee, of course, getting past Vandenberg. I think we may have missed that one. As Nash trying to get past clean boost sync for 4th place. The race winner from last time out. And he's not quite past, but now they've got to be careful from Lee, who is going to be so racy, so much faster than these guys. He's melted, he's been like a knife through butter so far in this race. And he's got about 8 more minutes in order to recover what positions he can get back. These guys, nearly 7 seconds off the lead. And Nash has got to get past clean boost sync in order to keep ahead of Lee. That's probably his best bet to stay ahead of the 989 driver.
Yeah, Lee going down the inside here. I think he might get this move done. Big under brakes, pulls it up the inside of Nash, and that's a solid move. I thought he was going to try it a few corners earlier, similar spot to where he got through Lee Vandenberg up over the rise there. Just thought better of it, but clears that pass down into turn 1, moves himself up now into that 5th spot. This is a great recovery drive for Lee. Klibersink, as you say, just up ahead in the Supervac car, but he will be a very tough competitor now to get through.
And oh, there we go, straight pass. That is remarkable, this, from Aaron Lee. A driver that I'm not too familiar with. I know they has raced in the States quite a bit, but he's been absolutely phenomenal so far in this event. Clean boost sync, I think, is going to lose out to Nash. He's still got his nose ahead. However, the inside line is far advantageous into turn 1. Clean boost sync, not giving in. The elite driver, has he kept Parvis' car alongside? No, he hasn't. Drops to 6th place. Vandenberg now sits on his turn. That garage ought to have good straight line speed. For the lead, it's closing up. Nathan Hupperts is losing significant amounts of time to Jordan Cullis on each lap. Half second lost on the last time. So he's going to be caught. The question is he going to be overtaken?
Yeah, well, we saw in the early pre-race. We know how good the forwards are, and again, they're proving it both in the hands of Cullis and Aaron Lee coming back through. Huppert's doing everything he can do right now to try and hold those guys off, but still, again, a little bit slower, 4/10 slower last time by, and this gap's absolutely evaporated down to nothing now that the field's shaking itself back out. So Huppert's going to have to drive his life here, go very defensive for the next 7 minutes to try and maintain this spot, but he's going to have 2 very quick charging forwards all over him in a matter of laps, I do think.
Lee is only 4.5 seconds off these guys. 1.2 seconds fast on that last lap. If Lee could win this race after pitting twice, and I swear going down to about 15th place, round Lime Rock, a tricky to overtake circuit, that would be something else. Here he goes then on Timothy Thieban. To the inside into turn 1. And the chase is well and truly on. He's 4 seconds to catch up to the race leaders. They're side by side for the race lead. Hupperts versus Cullis. And Hupperts has stayed ahead. Clean boost sync though has made a mistake. He's down into 11th. Was running in 6th before. Was running as high as 3rd, I think, or maybe 4th place at one point in this event. But he's dropped way down the order now, has clean boosting into 11th place. Been a tricky race for him in the past few laps. And Lee has already taken a second out of these guys in a half a lap around Lime Rock Park. And he's taken a second out. It's incredible, this. Here comes Hupperts, and to go defensive against Cullis, who has to get past, otherwise they are definitely going to be caught by Lee. But Hupperts does enough. Puts his car in the middle of the circuit, no way through at turn 1. And Lee took 1.5 seconds out of them on that last lap, and we've got many laps to go.
Well, yeah, plenty more still in the box. I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times for Lee. The last 2 times by 46.5. Last time, well, 2 laps ago, sorry, 46.5. This time by a 46.3. he is on average a second quicker than these two out in front. You can see that gap diminishing ever more, under 2 seconds now as he comes across the top of the hill. So while these two are battling up front and running around the 47.8, 47.9 region, Lee with a handful of speed and really showing what he can do in that car. The gap now to 1.8 seconds.
And Carlos is going to go for it again. He's got a couple more attempts before Lee will catch, but he wants to get it done right now, and he hasn't. Just cannot get away past that BMW. It is such a wide car. And a 799 is driving the widest BMW, I think, of all time. And Huppert is hanging on to the race lead. Multiple time race winner. And Lee is on them. Already it's taken him probably 2.5 laps to close down a 4-second margin. And this is a three-way fight now. Once again, Cullis almost down the inside. Hupperts is almost offline into every single corner. And oh, he's spun round and he's taken out Lee. They're both into the wall. And Nathan Hupperts has got the lead now. Timothy Phoeben moves up into second place. And Lee, the most unlucky man, because he was well on course to scoring a brilliant victory. But he's been taken out through no faults of his own.
Here we ride with the onboard shot. You can see the car ahead just getting a little bit wide, losing the back end, just snatches the grass on the turn in, and Lee, the unwitting driver there, gets caught up in all of that, able to get going again, but he has fallen well down the order now, down into 9th position. I was really looking to see what that battle between Lee and Huppert's former teammates, mind you, at Fusion Sim Racing, how they would have gone, because those two know each other very, very well.
Lee without too much damage, or perhaps he's just making up for it with his great pace, trying to get past Michael Barnes. Well, might still get a decent result out of this, Lee. But what a shame, what a shame. I mean, I think he would have absolutely cruised past those two drivers if it weren't for that instant. So Cullis then, is he stationary, you think, Cullis? Seems to be stationary out there.
Yeah, continuing to go further down the order. He's still out there at the moment, but the times are falling well away. Cullis down into 20th position right now. Sam Holden a little further back. Big Bone Racing currently sitting in the 15th spot. He's got Aiden Lithaway right in front of him, just behind Martin Crisp as well. So he's got himself in some good competition right now in that Ford. And these guys are scrapping down over that 14th, 15th, 16th position in a good little train of cars.
And there goes Holden. Oh, and spinning off there. Getting a little bit of wheel onto the grass. Well, that was a decent save in the end from Vaughan Riser. As Holden having to go defensive again into turn 1. Apologies. Yeah, and then Crisp just behind, trying to take advantage of all of this. Miller involved as well. There's Holden staying ahead of Crisp, and then Miller, Luthwaite another 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, Trent Thomas also in this little battle. He's working on the back of Josh Thomas, no relation these two, but Trent coming back from that self-spin we saw about 5-6 laps ago earlier on. So he's now down in the 10th and 11th position for these two, and they're pretty close together as they fly over through that final corner for one more time. And with just over 1.5 minutes to go, I'd say we'd have probably 2 laps still left here to go for these drivers. But Trent's got an opportunity here to at least snag one more position and get that top 10 finish.
Yeah, it would be a good comeback for him. Everyone's had issues, to be honest, in this race. Everyone will be thinking, could have got a podium out of this one, perhaps. And remarkably, it's a Huppert, Phoeben, Nash podium, which is like the most generic podium you could possibly have. I mean, I swear that's pretty much the same podium as we had last time out at Sebring. I mean, just those veterans of the series somehow find their way back up at the front after everything that's gone on. And even, you know, Vandenberg, another very experienced driver in 4th place. Absolutely incredible. Thomas having to, well, Trent going defensive against Joshua. Apologies, the other way around. Hanging on the inside. Not much room being given by either. Meanwhile, out in the lead, Nathan Huppert is 2 seconds ahead of Timothy Phoeben still. It did not look promising for him with a couple of laps to go. but after an incident for the drivers running in second and third, it's given him the lead. Huppert's somehow comes to win at Lime Rock Park. Race 2 of the season is his, and I don't think he will quite believe what has just occurred over the last 20 minutes or so, which has enabled him to win today's race. Few of the laps drivers coming across the line, everyone up to 12th place lapped, only the top 12 not lapped. Specchio and in the end Joshua Thomas beating Trent Thomas to that top 10 position. Well, I mean, what a race, Daniel. I mean, there's no doubt that this is a good host for a race. Maybe once in a season, Lime Rock is a brilliant track because it produces absolute craziness like that. I'm not sure what happened across that race. It was absolutely incredible. I feel like that was 4 hours of actions packed in a 45-minute race.
Yeah, I think that was a great race, as you say. The small, tight confines of that circuit really led to some fantastic racing. Really feel for Aaron Lee. He was having a massive charge coming back after that stop, and I would have loved to seen the battle between the former teammates in Happets and Lee going forward. Lee did manage to bring that car home in 7th. I know he'll be hurting from that one. He would have loved to have taken that top step, and I think unfortunate they're getting caught up in someone else's accident, as we saw Jordan Cullis go around, but what could have been. Hopefully we'll see Lee back again next week and we get another good crack with him in the car.
Absolutely. I'm sure he'll be the favourite if he does turn up next week because he was really dominant today. Just didn't work out for him. So the results then from this round 2 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship Season 11. Nathan Huppertz wins out 1.5 seconds ahead of Timothy Phoeben. Braden Nash finishes in third place. Didn't see much of Nash in the closing stages, but there he was. Lee Vandenberg finishes in 4th. Then it's Kane Ryder, Jeremy Clark, Aaron Lee. Whoa, only 5.6. So he came into the pits twice. He crashed, and yet he still finished in 7th place. Good effort from the pole sitter. Tom Hagen didn't see too much of him, but up 8 places from his start into 8th place. Only 6 seconds off the lead. It was really close out there. Michael Barron and Joshua Thomas rounding out the top 10. Behind that was Trent Thomas, Aaron Specchio, Warren Pickering, Sam Holden, David Miller, Martin Crisp, Aidan Luthwaite, Vaughan Ryder, Brett Hender, Robert Crisdale, Nick Sanfilippo, Brett Wilson, and Jordan Cullis. I don't think Cullis finished the race. In fact, he got disqualified. May have been an incidents limit for him there. Julian Clean Busink finished in 24th place. I think he retired as well. Up in 4th place with a few laps to go was Busink. Shame that. Pearson, what could have been for him? Gamble. Pellet was running in 4th place. You know, he was ahead of all the podium sitters in the end. I mean, so many what-ifs for these guys. And Justin Ruggiero retired very early on. 54 laps down in a 45-lap race. Short track this. Really, really short track. So, interviews with a few drivers, and we are going to have a chat first up with Nathan Huppertz. And Nathan, that was a race. I can you believe that you've just won it? I mean, one moment you were in 6th, and then you were leading, and then you were being caught, and then you won out. I mean, incredible event.
Sorry, you got me, guys?
Oh, so yeah. Just what an incredible event, Nathan. I mean, how on earth did you win that?
Yeah, I didn't have the pace on the Fords. The Fords were really fast, and we saw that in qualifying. So the BMW was probably, second quickest, I think. So I knew I didn't have outright pace, and at the start, I was sort of caught behind Tim Phoeben for a little bit, and that was difficult because you get a lot of understeer from the cars in front. So I thought, you know what, I'll pit early and see if I can get into some clean air and just get clean laps. And that worked into my favour because the safety car came out, but I'd already taken my fuel stop. So the guys that hadn't pitted, who were still ahead of me in the race, they had to go then pit. But there was a bit of mucking around with that safety car.
Yeah, I was confused what was going on. So you were 1 lap down then. I was a bit confused who the pace car picked up because it didn't seem to pick up the race leader. So you were then 1 lap down, it seemed, and then everyone pitted. They were still ahead of you, and then you seemed to overtake them all right at the end. So what was going on? Do you understand it?
I think what's happened is the pace car picked up there was some three lapped cars in front of me, and I'm not too sure whether they should have been told to go around or not. But after the leaders who were in front of me, after they pitted behind me under the safety car, that's when I was told by the iRacing safety car to pass the guys in front of me and to go around. So either way, I think I would have ended up in the lead behind the safety car, but it did look pretty confusing. I was confused too. So I'm not too sure whether some of the guys in front got a message from the safety car that they didn't obey or not. But at the end of the day, it was a strategy that worked. So really happy with the win.
Yeah, it seemed to certainly work out how we thought it should do, because you were within a lap and then everyone came into the pit, so you certainly did deserve to be in the lead. But then in those closing stages, keeping behind Jordan Cullis, that proved to be crucial. But the way that Lee was catching you at the end, I mean, you couldn't have had too much confidence going into the last 5 laps.
Oh, look, not a lot, if I'm honest. A little bit, because it's hard to pass around there. You can be fairly defensive, but I just had so much understeer in that BMW towards the end, and so through the corners, that Ford was just really quick all week, and I could see him gaining. And I don't know what happened behind me, whether he made a mistake or touched Aaron. I'm not sure, but that was unlucky for both of them, because I think in the last couple of laps, both or one of them at least might have got past me, but. The luck went my way, which was good.
And just one last question. I mean, with that strategy coming into the pits, it works out really well with the safety car. Do you think there'll be a strategy you adopt in the future? Because, of course, if you do pit first and then everyone else has to pit, then you kind of get track position on them. So do you reckon you're going to go for that early stop a bit more in the future?
Yeah, it's sort of a toss-up when you get to each track. So, everyone else in the series would know this too, but, some tracks, it's worth your while to stay out and run on lighter fuel. You get a better lap time. But around this track in particular, the low fuel didn't make a big difference to lap times, not in the BMW anyway. And when you're stuck behind someone at Lime Rock, like I was at the start there for the first 10 or so laps, it's hard to get past. You wear the tyres because you get a lot of understeer behind cars in front. So, there are certain times when it's going to work out for you. And I knew there'd be a safety car at Lime Rock Park. They'd have to, I was expecting about 3 or 4, to be honest. So I thought, I'll roll the dice. If I can hang on at the end with old, worn tyres, well then, it'll be a good strategy. So.
Well, it certainly worked out well for you in the end, Nathan. Congratulations on this race win. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Look, just want to thank all of the Fusion guys. A new team member raced for us tonight, Brett Hender, who did a good job as well. But also wanted to thank our primary sponsors, which are Eclipse Signage, Dripping Paint Graphics, and Daryl Carter Plastering. And for the competition out there, it's getting tight, it's getting tough. So you certainly need a bit of luck, go your way with strategy. And so thanks to all the competition out there, and thanks to you guys for putting on a great broadcast.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging a chat with us, Nathan, and best of luck for the next round of the championship.
Okay, thanks, guys.
So that was Nathan Hupperts, your race winner for today. And I believe Daniel is standing by with Timothy Phoeben.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Tim, congratulations, mate. Second place tonight. Well done out there. How did you find the BMW? Looked like maybe struggling a fraction comparative to the Ford, but in the end, come home with.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Look, the Beamer was pretty good, but the Ford just was so quick. I don't know who came up behind me. It was the white Ford with the blue stripes. Ended up crashing out at the end, but I didn't even know he was there. And before he knew it, he was sort of right behind me, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just let him go because it wasn't worth fighting." But it was a crazy race.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was Aaron Lee coming through. We saw him with a huge amount of speed towards the back end of the race and pulling off a few interesting little passing opportunities. But as you say, coming down to the final spot there, what were your thoughts when you saw both those cars going off, and what sort of opened up in front with second position?
Yeah, it was Stephen Bradbury moment, to say the least. But it was good. It was good. Not going to complain about that. I wasn't sort of surprised. There was a fair bit of tension I suppose, amongst the field with the way the safety car played out. And I don't know, I'm just confused by it still, but I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash how all that panned out. But yeah, it was a bit confusing. I think everyone was not exactly sure what was going on.
Yeah, to be fair, from our end, we also had a fair bit of confusion here, working out trying to what was unfolding and how things were going, because we saw everyone get bunched up behind that safety car, and then with the pit stops, it looked a little bit chaotic for everyone. But with those cars in front, it didn't look like you had too much trouble working your way back through as a result of that.
Yeah, like that was the main sort of concern was after the restart, because it seemed, the leaders sort of took off, and then a lot of the lapped cars were a bit slower, and you were sort of stuck with a lot of lapped cars, and it was touch and go there for a couple of corners. So, but it was just lucky in the end.
Definitely, and then obviously next week we move off from Lime Rock Park back to Road America. So first off, is the circuit you like, and how do you think you'll go out?
Yeah, Road America's I don't know if it's one of my favourite circuits, but I know it well enough. So, who knows? There's a lot of quick guys this season. So, and I think we missed a few from this round that didn't race this one that were in the first one. I think Griffin, Gardner. So I don't know whether a few of those blokes come back. But I'd like to think I'll be up there somewhere. But we'll be back next week. It'd be good.
Definitely. Well, mate, again, congratulations on second place. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out for helping yourself and the team throughout this one?
Yeah, just like to thank Mark One Esports, RMS Race Management Service, LeBlanc Group, Night Rider Designs, Cedar, and Sandblock Media.
Fantastic, mate. Well, again, congratulations, and look forward to seeing you back out on track next week at Road America.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Take it easy.
So I think our last interview is going to be with last time race winner, Braden Nash. Congratulations, Braden. I mean, third place from 17th on the grid. Pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a interesting race. I'm not sure how I ended up on the podium, but yeah.
Take us through the starts. I mean, it seemed like you had to make a lot of overtakes, but your overtake seemed a lot more. You seem to find the overtaking easier than a lot of guys. A lot of guys were struggling, but you were making decent progress in the opening lap.
Yeah, I had a strategy. I just had to commit to the overtaking move when I decided to do it, and pretty much if I just had to leave racing room, it's the only way to overtake at this track.
And then, what was your thinking under the safety car? Do you think the safety car benefited you in the end, or was it a bit of a hindrance?
Definitely benefited me. I was in 11th when it came out, and then I popped back out in 6th or 7th. Not sure how that happened. Not sure what happened on the safety car. I'll have to go back and have a look, but yeah, weird one.
Yeah, we were a little bit confused up in the commentary booth as well with everything that was going on. And then, just in the closed stages, it must have been pretty scary seeing Lee go past you. I mean, he was absolutely flying straight past you, but then, of course, you had that big incident ahead. Did you see it too clearly?
Oh, yeah, I saw it, but I had enough time to react and take caution, so there was no dramas.
And, of course, now after 2 rounds of the championship, you're quite healthily, I think, in the lead of the championship, a first and a third place. I guess a good start to the season.
Yeah, not bad. Got lucky in both races, so can't really complain. Hopefully I can keep the luck up for the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one, Braden. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Oh, yeah, just like to thank you guys for the broadcast. I'm going to jump on and watch that now. And just thanks to Synergy Sim Racing and all the teammates that have helped out in the transition. It's been a really welcoming atmosphere. So, yeah, just thanks to those guys.
Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Braden, and congratulations today and best of luck for next week.
Thank you.
That was Braden Nash finishing in third place today. And so Dan, I think that's pretty much rounds us off, but I think you were saying earlier on Road America for the next round of the championship, a very different circuit to this place. Going to see some good pack racing, I imagine. Yeah, looking forward to round 3 of the season.
Yeah, Road America is a great circuit. These cars go very, very well around there. A couple of long straights which really benefit them. Some good twisty sections, and you've got the famous carousel to get around as well. So plenty of options for the guys as far as passing goes. The race is going to be absolutely hot as always. And yeah, we will see a little bit of a return back to the normal field sizes. Obviously this one a little bit more condensed with the short nature of the circuit. But we'll go back to the bigger field as well, which is going to be great to see. So really looking forward to that. Can't wait enough.
Yeah, it should be pretty great, that one. You can catch that one once again on the iRacing Esports Network or on Apex Racing TV at the same time next week, unless your clocks change. You know, keep up to date with that. Just see when it's scheduled for, and that will be a reliable source for when to tune into that one. Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. We really appreciate it. And if you're watching on the Esports Network, subscribe to that, because there's loads of other racing on the Esports Network. And if you're watching on Apex Racing TV, subscribe to that one. And whichever one you're not watching, subscribe to either one, because we broadcast on both many times a week. Later on Apex Racing TV, we've got Sim Racers World Endurance Championship. So nearly 6 hours of racing coming up. That'll be myself, Marco Barbanera, and Austin Knight bringing you the action for that. That is going to be a pretty epic one, undoubtedly. And then also tonight as well on Apex Racing TV, we're broadcasting the Apex Racing League GT Championship as well. So tune in for that one. That will be from Circuit of the Americas. And we've got loads of other stuff coming up as well. Of course, tomorrow on the Esports Network, we've got World GT, we've got Sim Racers World on Wednesday, we've got ARLTC on Thursday, official series going on. Just keep an eye on it, turn on notifications, and you will not miss a broadcast. But thanks for tuning in. But for me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.